Federal Liberals met on Parliament Hill for the second day in a
Ladies
row
and
as they
gentlemen,
plot their
welcome to the
post-Trudeau future. Chrystia
Liberal
Freeland penned an
Rumble.
open letter to her leadership rivals, calling on them to run in the next election regardless of who is the leader.
This is an important contest. We are...
Lady, damn, you're going for that one, eh? Like, you are determined to be the next prime minister one way or another. If the Liberals don't let you, you're going to make your own path, eh? You're going to make it. I'm going to do it.
Choosing the next leader of the Liberal Party. That means that we're choosing the next Prime Minister of Canada. It's really important to give all Canadians a chance to see the candidates in action, to hear what they have to say, to hear what they have to offer Canadians.
I kind of feel like we've seen at least 3 of you in action, and we don't like it. We don't like you. We don't like Marky Mark. And we do not like Karina. So who else you got? Because, oh, okay. She looks interesting. Ruby Dhalla. You haven't been around in a minute. Let's see what you've got. I mean, they just knocked out Arya, so maybe you could be his replacement. Let's try that one.
Hi, I'm Ruby Dhalla, and I am running because we must beat Pierre Poilievre and the Conservatives. Today...
Okay, lady, before you get to Pierre Poilievre, whatever his name is, and the Conservatives, you actually have to beat Marky Mark, Chrystia, Karina. What was the other guy's name? Biles, whatever his name is. You can't get the prime minister race yet till you win the Liberal race, so you might want to slow your horses there.
I am running to lead the Liberal Party and become Canada's next Prime Minister. The Liberal Party is broken. We must...
You can say that again. Y'all are imploding all over the place. Just all over the place. Might want to fix that. Clean it up. Clean up.
Clean up the system. The people that broke the system certainly cannot fix it.
Damn, you went right for the jugular. They've all been trying to keep it some level of civil, not really coming right out and calling each other out. You went right in there and called them out. Well, that should be fun. Okay, what else you got to say?
The time for change is now. The time for real change is now. And together we can make it happen so that we can stand up for Canadians and fight for Canada. Please join me and sign up and vote for Ruby Dhalla. Canada's comeback starts now.
I mean, out of all of them, you've got a better slogan. I'll give you that. Canada's comeback starts now.
We're reaching out to everybody, whether it's out here on the canal or it's across the country, and addressing issues.
Been a while, though. I mean, you kind of disappeared there after announcing your candidacy. So let's hear what you got.
That really matter to Canadians. And, you know, when you look at something like carbon pricing, where it goes to the heart of, it's first and foremost, it's making this economy more competitive.
Okay, buddy, we've had carbon pricing for a couple of years now. It hadn't worked. It was kind of your idea. So not so sure how more competitive you want to make it, because it's more expensive. So if you want to make it more competitive in that regard, be the most expensive, kind of think we're already there, aren't we? Oh, Lord.
More sustainable jobs. It's helping us do our bit on climate change. It's also making sure that Canadians come out ahead. Right
ahead of who? Marky Mark, ahead of who? Maybe you're coming out ahead. The average person sure as hell ain't.
Now, and then in the future, and what you're going to see from my campaign, my group, working with people like Stephen and many others across this country, across the party, is a solution that works for everyone, addresses all those aspects. That's cost of living, that's jobs, that's competitiveness.
Marky Mark, I mean, we've been waiting for, what, like 2 weeks? We still don't really have much of a plan from you, so it's kind of getting a little concerning, because you're supposed to be the front runner, and we still don't know what you intend on doing, so you might want to start telling us.
And that's building the strongest economy in the G7.
It is certainly looking like Mark is the choice of the Liberal establishment.
Damn, you're going for that one? Like, Chrystia, really? You really think you can run as an outsider on this one? Mark is the establishment. What are you? Because you've been in there for a minute. So if he's the establishment, you're the damn foundation. So I don't know, man. I mean, he is your kid's godfather, and also I'm not so sure you want to start nailing him like that. But okay, what you got?
It is certainly looking like he is the PMO's candidate.
Explain
and
that.
Oh, you sound mad. You sound sad. You thought it was going to be you, didn't you? You thought you were going to be the next Prime Minister of Canada, and he turned around and put a shiv in your back. And now you're going, damn, I'm going to burn the whole thing to the ground. I will raise it. If I can't have it, nobody will.
Is okay with me.
Can you explain
I am
that?
really happy to be running against the Ottawa establishment. I think we need a change.
Translation: I walked away, and I want you to elect me because technically, by walking away, I am not the establishment. Even though I've been in it for 9 years, even though I was a deputy prime minister, even though I was the finance minister, forget all of that. I am now the outsider.
I made that very clear with my resignation letter, and my campaign is about reviving grassroots democracy in the Liberal Party.
Okay, so here's what we're going to play. We're going to play a game. Every time we hear the word grassroots, I want to like and I want to subscribe and I want to share. Or better yet, put a comment because I have a feeling grassroots is going to be the word of the day. Grassroots. Everybody running for them grassroots.
Party. It's about saying we as a party need to do things differently, and it's about saying if I am elected as leader, if I'm elected as prime minister, I will do things very differently.
PMO's candidate. Can you cite one piece of evidence that that is the case?
I said it certainly is seeming that way.
So it seems that way, but you don't have.
Honey, you sound like you're mad. You're just out to get him at this point. You're just going to burn the whole thing just because, they didn't want you. They didn't want you. Now you're going to burn it down. Oh, boy. This is going to get interesting and fun by the time we're done.
Any evidence?
I don't believe in trafficking in secondhand reports.
Oh, come on.
But
Come
it seems
on.
that way. And look, I am really okay with that
Are
because
you
I
though?
think we
Are
do need
ya?
a
'Cause
change.
I
We
really
need
don't
a
think you are.
change in
I
how
really don't
our
think you
government
are.
works. We need a change in how the party works. We need a change in how the country works. And I am really, really excited about standing up for that grassroots change.
Hello, good
Oh.
morning. Bonjour.
Before we proceed, hit that like, hit that subscribe, leave a comment. She gave me a grassroots, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, Karina. Okay. So everybody was in the studio, well, except for Marky. Mark, for some reason, he decided to go in the canal, but you went on the street. Okay. I mean, it should be interesting.
I have just left the party office where I deposited my papers to be an official candidate in the upcoming leadership race. It has been 2 weeks since I decided to join this race, and in 2 weeks we have built a national organization, heard from people right across the country who tell me that they are rejoining the Liberal Party because they're excited about my candidacy. And what I hear over and over.
Okay, I got two vibes off of this one. First, it's like those baskers on the side of the street playing the guitar, waiting for the money. Because, I mean, the lady decided to literally go to the side of the street, a couple of mics. I'm sure she's got an amp, and that's about it. Because the audio is horrible. So, I mean, she's going for a certain vibe because I'm pretty sure she could afford to go to a studio or something based on her announcement video. Okay, so we're going for Basker. What else are we going for here?
And over again is that what I offer is hope for the future.
Oh, I was waiting for hope and change. Hope and change. Changey hope. You missed it by an inch. Come on. Just say it. Hope and change.
Commit to vote for me at carinagould.ca and make a donation. because I don't have deep pockets. The people who are
You're going for the Bernie vibe. Okay, now the street makes sense because you're going for the Bernie vibe. The I don't have a lot of money. I'm going to stand up for everybody. But again, you were making at least $300,000 a year in Parliament for the last decade. So kind of feeling like you ain't you ain't an outsider and you ain't the little guy.
standing up and saying they're going to support me are everyday Canadians who are giving 10.
Seriously, the audio is killer, lady. Like, I don't know who your campaign manager is, but he really needs some advice because what he did here did you wrong. Like, he did you wrong.
$25 that makes a difference. This is a grassroots, people-powered campaign. We've been talking at you for too long. It's time for the Liberal Party of Canada to listen to our members once again. Ottawa doesn't know best. We need to empower our regions, our provinces, our people on the ground who are the eyes and ears that hear from our community. I think we have to be honest about the fact that Canadians have lost trust in our party. And part of it is
And the first way to gain trust is to speak on the side of the road where people can barely hear you? I mean, I don't know what game you're going for, but I mean, it's a try. I'll give you that.
because I don't think we responded to the issues that they were telling us mattered to them. It took us too long to understand that Canadians were struggling to make ends meet. And I think we have to do a better job of that.
Chrystia Freeland has said that she would roll back the policy on capital gains. What would you do on it?
So look, I don't think we got the capital gains tax increase right last year.
Why did it take you this long to say something, though, right? I mean, if you didn't think it was right when you did it, could have said something, right? No? Maybe?
Since you announced you were getting into this race, you've been saying Canadians have lost trust in the Liberal Party. So who in your party broke that trust and how?
Well, I actually think that that was collective on all of us in the sense that Canadians have been telling us for a number of years what the issues are that matter to them. And I think that what Canadians are looking for is leadership that is listening to them and making policy decisions that reflect that. And while we've taken some steps, I think we could have done it sooner. And so I just think there's an incredible opportunity for us as a party to regain the trust of Canadians and to demonstrate that we understand what they're going through and that we have a plan to address their challenges and their needs right now.
You're behind.
Okay, come on. The Canadians have kind of been screaming at you for the last little bit, and y'all didn't listen. Y'all didn't listen. Kind of told them that they were up a creek without a paddle all alone. The only reason you're trying to quote unquote listen is because they're pushing it to an election, and now you're like, oh shit, we got to start listening because an election's coming. Okay, I mean, sure, let's go for the listening. We're gonna go one more shot here because I have a feeling we're gonna hear a whole lot about better listening.
Chrystia Freeland, you're behind Mark Carney. What does that say about the strength of the Karina Gould campaign right now?
Grassroots, grassroots. I say grassroots. It's a grassroots campaign.
What it says is that I'm actually getting support from grassroots members right
There we
across
go.
this country. You know,
Give me that
since
comment.
I
Give me
decided
that
to do
like.
this, which
Oh,
was 2 weeks
gotta
ago,
give your
we
voice
have
out
stood
here.
up an organization from coast to coast. We have had hundreds of people raise their hands to say that they're in to volunteer. We've had hundreds of people give small donations, and we've raised almost $100,000 since I launched on Saturday. And so there is a tremendous amount of momentum behind my campaign, but it's not coming from necessarily the traditional sources. It's coming from everyday Canadians who, what they're telling me is they're excited, they're optimistic, and they feel hopeful about our future.
Well, the listening to Canadians is interesting, Ms. Gould, because, you know, Canadians have been saying, whether you agree with this position or not, that they do not like the carbon tax for years. And this week, even Stephen Guilbeault said the battle is lost, it's time to move on. Why did it take a leadership race for Liberals to start listening to what Canadians have been telling them for a couple of years?
Thank you, David. You said it right. Okay. Now that you asked a tough question, don't let her up on it. Don't let her give a bullshit answer because you know she's gonna. You know she's gonna.
On that particular issue?
Well, in fairness, David, I can't talk about what happens in caucus, but I
Oh,
can say
come
that a lot of caucus
on.
members have been raising this point
Come on.
for a long time. But while this policy might have been the right thing to do when we brought it forward,
So if y'all been raising it, why did you keep it? Why did you keep promoting it? Why did you keep it if all of you have been raising issues and concerns about it?
a number of years ago, it's just not working for Canadians today. So
It never worked a number of years ago. It doesn't work today. So it never worked. This isn't a case of it ain't working right now. It never worked.
what I've committed to do is one of the first things if I become Prime Minister is to freeze the current price on pollution.
So you're not going to get rid of it, right? You're just going to freeze it. But they don't want it. Canadians are still saying they don't want it. You're saying you're going to listen. They're telling you they don't want it. So what are you freezing? Like Chrystia's getting rid of it. Mark's getting rid of it. Or at least he pretends like he will. Why are you just saying you're going to freeze it? Just get rid of it. Nobody wants it.
For consumers that's supposed to go up on April 1st because Canadians are saying that that's not something that they can afford right now.
The plan you've laid out there, at least on the consumer-facing carbon tax side of it, Ms. Gould, sounds like the Liberals running in an election with a consumer carbon tax in place, right? I know you say you'd freeze it, but there's likely going to be an election depending on the confidence scenario when the House comes back in March, April, May. You would still have the carbon tax in place. I mean, could you credibly go into an election with the mood of the country and everything you've heard from voters and caucus members with that in place, frozen or not?
Well, I think it's imperative that we do freeze it, and I think we do come up with an alternative. But we need to make sure that we have an alternative in place because we still need to reduce our emissions, and we need to do it in a way that is responding to what Canadians are telling us.
Okay,
Political translation. I'm going to rename it, tweak a little bit of here and there, and then unfreeze it and call it something completely different. I'm going to call it not a carbon tax. I'm going to call it non-consumer tax. And then I'll bring it back and I'll say it's something else.
You also said today that the way the capital gains changes were brought in last year in the budget, an increase in the inclusion rate, which is something now even Chrystia Freeland says she would undo. A lot of Liberal tax policies are suddenly getting strong reconsideration in this race.
No, all of them are getting reconsideration. I mean, damn.
You said you got that wrong as well, you collectively as a government. What did you get wrong there?
It's a really important question. And look, I'm the daughter of a small business owner, so I know how much.
What did you get wrong? Not who your mama and daddy are. I'm the daughter of a small business owner. That's like, I'm from a middle class family and I know how the middle class feels. You haven't been middle class in how long? Damn.
Work small businesses put into their businesses. And what we need to do is make sure that we are creating an environment for growth and creating an environment where we're going to have more entrepreneurs in this country who can contribute to that growth. So I'll have more to say on this in the coming days, but what I can say is I'm having lots of conversations with entrepreneurs to figure out what it is that we do to create that growth environment. So I'm absolutely looking at what to do in order to make this a better policy for businesses in our country and how we can have a growth economy.
Political translation. I ain't got shit. I ain't got no plan. I'm just going to say I'm looking into it. And then I'm going to hope that you forget about it because I don't have a plan. So I'm going to look into it. Okay. I'm going to look into it. Let's go with that.
So again, though, this is another policy, Ms. Gould, where the pushback on it was immediate, it was swift, and it was fierce, right? It was loud. It was impossible to miss. So, I mean, your government must have heard it. It sounds like they just weren't listening to it, or at least listening and responding to it. Was it all Justin Trudeau?
No, I think that there was, when you're in government for 9 years, sometimes you get more focused on being the government in Ottawa than being the grassroots politician. And one of the things that I've always prided myself on is being the grassroots
Grassroots times 2. You know what that means?
politician. And I can say with a very clear conscience, that I have voiced my opinion on these issues within the context in which I could do that as a cabinet minister.
So let me get this straight. So behind closed doors, you told the prime minister and your party members that you didn't like the policy. Then you went out into the public and defended the policy, and we're supposed to believe that you really did fight for us. Okay, that sounds about right. That sounds right.
Minister. And what I think is really important for Canadians is for them to see that we're listening and we're changing our position on the things that they don't agree with and on the things that they say that are not working for them. And honestly, that's how a democracy works. One of the things that I know is that the reason why people are turning away from us is because they don't feel like we understand the issues that they're living on a day-to-day basis. When it comes to questions like affordability, they're saying that things are too expensive for them right now, and we need to do a better job of responding to that. Things like crime. You know, in my community, we've seen an increase in auto thefts. Now that's starting to go down, but that's not something that, you know, people in the GTA or anywhere else in the country should be experiencing. And even though, you know, we held the auto summit last year, I just feel like we got to the game too late. And that's something that
Y'all never got to the game at all. Not too late. You never got to the game at all because you didn't listen. Y'all really didn't listen.
I think we need to do a better job of.
I guess what I don't understand, though, is, you know, if you got to the game too late in a number of those instances, why did you keep insisting in your cabinet colleagues that that wasn't the case? Like, I've done countless interviews with...
Come on. You're going to do what I think you're going to do? Come on. Are you going to follow up? Because David didn't. Are you going to hit him with a nice, strong follow-up? Let's do this.
all of you. And every time I asked a question like that, I was told I was wrong, basically. And it's not as though you're just on the, sidelines of that.
No.
You were tasked
Right.
by the Prime Minister and others to be one of the, leads on communication around a lot of this stuff. What made you see the light?
Well, I think I've seen it for a while, to be
Okay, so, you've seen it for a while. Okay, I mean, I didn't think you were going to go there with that, but let's see what you got.
honest, Vashi.
And you just couldn't say it? Is that what the argument is?
Part of my job as the House Leader was to defend the government's position, but
So your excuse is, I knew it was wrong. I saw the light, but it was my job to defend it, so I did. That's what you're going with here. Okay. I mean, it ain't the best defense, but it's something.
I, made very strong comments, within the spaces that I was acting. But I'm here to say to Canadians that we didn't get everything right, and we didn't necessarily listen when you were asking us to.
I mean, a number of your progressive allies in premiers, for example, across the provinces have been making that kind of argument, right? Like the carrot versus stick approach. To be clear, are you leaning towards the carrot versus your government, which was leaning towards the stick?
Look, I think that when we brought in the price on pollution, it was the right decision at the time, but the world has changed. The economy.
No, it was not the right decision at the time. People told you they didn't want it, and y'all didn't listen. So, no, it was not the right decision.
Economy has changed. People's situations have changed. And so we need to change with the times as well. And part of democracy is listening to your citizens. I'm not too proud to change that position.
But you insisted for so long that it was the opposite. Like, why should they trust you?
Ooh, good follow-up. Good follow-up, Vashi. Good follow-up. Now, don't let her give you some bullshit answer, okay? Make her say it right.
Well, because I'm saying right now that I hear you. I mean, if I think about the conversation that we had over the summer when I said what we have to do following the by-elections was listen to people and demonstrate that change. We didn't demonstrate that change, right? And I was pushing for us to demonstrate that change, and now I'm in a position where
You just weren't pushing for it in public, right? And you just were pushing for it behind the scenes with the door closed and the lights out where nobody could see you. But we just have to believe that you did. Okay. All right.
I can demonstrate that change.
The biggest issue at this moment in time that is facing this country is certainly what's going on with Donald Trump, right? You said about your opponents in this race, I'm not sure that journalists and central bankers are the kind of people that Donald Trump listens to. Why are you someone that Donald Trump will listen to? And
what I was saying there was not a knock.
No, it was a knock. Just accept it. Come on, Ruby did it. You just accept it. It was a knock. They ain't good enough and you are. Just accept it.
Against either of them, because I think they're both exceptional candidates, and I think we're really
You're
lucky
doing
to
the
have,
civil
three
thing.
really
You know you're
good,
not gonna
solid
win, so you're
candidates who
playing
are
for a
vying for the
cabinet
position of
position,
leader.
aren't you?
What I mean by that is, like, I don't really
You're
think
playing
that
for a
Donald
cabinet
Trump cares
position.
about your CV when he's making these decisions. When a bully asks you for your lunch money, if you give it to them, they don't leave you alone, right? And so what we need is someone who's going to stand up to bullies, someone who's going to stand up for Canadians. I'm tough, I've got chutzpah, and I'm very able to stand up on behalf of Canadians.
Hang on. You've tough, you've got chutzpah, and you stood up for Canadians behind closed doors, the lights out. Because you didn't do it in public. You only did it through the ways that were available to you as a minister in cabinet. So publicly, you didn't stand up for Canadians. Somehow, we're supposed to believe that you're going to go up against the big bad Trump and you're going to win? Or are you going to do it behind closed doors with the lights out? Which is it, Karina? Which is it?
Like, what does that mean in real terms? Like, what would you do to respond that is different than what we're seeing already?
I think, first of all, everything has to be on the table. And what I think is vitally important is that we are all on Team Canada and we are all united in this fight. It has to be Canada first. And whether it's Premier Daniel Smith or Pierre Poilievre, who are willing to make carve-outs because they think that that's better for them politically than it is in terms of protecting jobs across this country, we need to be united and we need to be absolutely unified.
Just one quick follow-up.
United and unified. You didn't sound very different from everybody else. So, again, what makes you different? Because you just sound like all the other ones.
On the sort of what you would do, and it has to do with a lot of what President Trump was saying today, all about NATO spending. Do you think, if you win and you become prime minister, will you accelerate the timeline to meet 2% beyond 2032?
I think there are things that we can do to meet the 2% faster.
But you would accelerate the timeline by how much?
Well, I'd have to dig more into it. But
if you become Liberal leader.
The thing is, whenever she says, I'd have to dig more into it, you just take that to be, I ain't got no plan. I ain't got shit. So don't ask me about it, please, because I ain't going to have an answer for you.
And therefore, Prime Minister, how would you tackle Trump?
Chrystia?
We need to be strong, smart, and united.
Oh, strong, smart, and united. Okay. What else you got? How you going to beat Trump? Because I don't think those are going to work, but sure.
The key thing is not to be scared. What Trump wants is chaos. And it's that attitude that we have to bring to this truly challenging situation.
You kind of brought the chaos, right? You put that letter out publicly and just, stirred the pot. And now everything is out in the front. Y'all are just fighting out in public. You're beating on Marky Mark. I don't think he's beaten up on you yet, but you're beating up on Marky Mark and Trudeau. So I don't know. I kind of feel like you got the chaos without Trump.
We saw the letter. Everyone read the letter. It was kind of a bombshell that broke as we were on air here. And in so many pictures, you're side by side with Justin Trudeau. Can you explain a little more of your case as to why you decided now was no longer the time to sort of support him or sort of be in his cabinet?
I'm in the running really because we need to stand up to Donald Trump, and I am the person who can do it. I know how to fight for Canada. I know we need to fight for Canada. I have a plan to fight for Canada, and that's what we need right now.
Translation. I'm in the running right now because I was supposed to be the next prime minister, and Justin Trudeau decided to shove me in the back, so I shoved him back. So I'm in the running because I want him out, and it's my turn now.
It's hard not to know. I mean, it was like kind of hard to separate you. Even as he was talking, he talked about how you were side by side with him here. How will you distinguish yourself from the prime minister's record? Finance minister, deputy prime minister, you're very closely linked.
You know, Nick, for me, this campaign has been a real liberation. It is great to be able to say exactly what I think, to speak as a leader, and to speak in my own voice. I am loving it. And, I did resign from the cabinet. I was disagreeing with the Prime Minister more and more. I realized we were, as a government, on the wrong path.
What will you do to differentiate yourself from Justin Trudeau, considering that you've been his deputy for so long and his finance minister? That's the question, Chrystia. That's the question. Let's try and keep it on track here.
I knew Inauguration Day was coming. See all your coverage. Canadians know this is the central issue. I knew that that had to be what our government was focused on. We couldn't afford to throw away $6 billion. We needed to keep our...
Seriously, you just keep sounding like somebody who's really scorned because you were supposed to be next and you thought you were going to be next. And then he probably picked Marky Mark and you were like, hell no, I'm next. And you don't put me next, I'm going to burn this thing to the ground.
Our fire powder dry. And today we need to look to the future. And we need to say, you know, as Bill said, we love our country, we are tough, we can get through this. I have a plan to do that. And crucially, I have the guts and the experience to deliver on that plan for Canadians.
Mm-hmm. So you have no way of differentiating yourself. And translation, you don't have a plan because you just said a whole lot of nothing. To the question, how are you different or how would you differentiate yourself? So we're going to take that to mean you ain't got no plan and you're exactly the same. You just want to be next.
If there was a disagreement in your cabinet, how would you handle things differently? Like if your finance minister came to you and said, you know, Prime Minister, I think we're on the wrong track here. How would you tackle that differently than what the experience you've had was?
Well, probably I wouldn't tell my finance minister I was going to fire her the day after she delivered the fall economic statement. I probably wouldn't say that 3 days before she was supposed to deliver it.
Mm-hmm. Nah, you are really mad. Like you are taking him out to the back and just driving that bus right back over him, aren't you? Like you are not happy about that one bit, which I guess is valid. I'll give you that. I mean, you were supposed to be next, and he kind of made it look like you were next, so I guess it makes sense.
Interesting note there.
Step one, right?
Yeah, step one. You have said no more carbon tax. Why no more carbon tax?
No more consumer-facing
carbon tax. Pardon me. Yes, yeah.
You know why? Because that's what the people...
Yeah, you're going to bring it back. You're just going to call it something else, right? That's what you're going to do. Let me guess. You're going to say because that's what people have been telling you, and now you want to listen, even though you chose not to listen before.
People are saying to us. And democracy is about listening to people. It is not about saying, dear Canadians, dear people of Ontario, you are so, so wrong. To be a good leader, you have to listen.
You do know Ontario is not the only place in Canada, right? Like Canada is more than just Ontario. Just double checking on that, making sure you know that. I know sometimes, you know, people tend to forget about BC and St. John's and Winnipeg and Regina and Edmonton, but you do know Ontario is not all of Canada, right?
To people, and that's what we've heard from the people of Ontario. And
seriously, like Canada's just an afterthought for you, right? Just an afterthought. Just tag it on to the end. Make sure you win Ontario and you'll be good.
And across the country. So we have to listen. And at the same time, we do need a strong plan to fight climate change.
When you were asked about it, when you were in the government, you would sort of highlight the fact that I think the number was about 80% of Canadians were kind of getting more back than they were paying on the carbon tax. So if you get rid of the consumer-facing carbon tax, are you not taking money out of people's pockets in a time when there's an affordability crisis?
You know, when you're in a government, you play with the team. All of us have the experience of having a boss and having a team. With the price on pollution, with the carbon tax, I think the people have been really, really clear.
So you're going with the same thing Karina did, right? Where it's like, you know what? I didn't like it, but I was part of a team, so I had to defend it, even though I thought it was wrong, even though you were telling me it was wrong. I kind of went with it because that's what I was supposed to do. But I mean, in your case, I mean, you were probably like, well, if I go with it, I'm going to be the next prime minister anyways, so it's okay.
People just don't like that, and they They're saying that to us. I really
They've
think that
been
if you're in a
saying that
democracy
for
and you're
years.
not listening to people and you're lecturing them, that is not going to work.
You
And
kind
so
of
that
lectured people. You literally lectured people for years on end at this point. They told you they didn't like that thing. They told you they didn't want no carbon tax.
that is a really important change I think we need to make. And we need to make it because I know that people in Ontario, people in Toronto, they do know that we have to fight climate.
Seriously, like, is this thing just for Toronto and Ontario? Like, the rest of us are feeling kind of left out, lady. Like, people in Toronto, in Ontario, Ontario. Did you even think about Quebec? Like, or you just giving up on that? You're just giving up on everybody else. You're like, I just need to win Ontario.
Change. But they're saying this element of the plan we just don't like. I've heard them and I'm going to do what they want us to do. But at the end
Why didn't you do it before? Why didn't you do what they wanted you to do before when they told you they didn't like the plan?
of the day, I really don't believe in saying to voters, to Canadians, oh, you just don't understand. I think, it's not right.
really kinda
People
did.
are smart. People understand what they think and what they want. People are being really clear. And democracy is about hearing that message and acting on it.
Oh boy. You kinda did, Chrystia. You didn't listen. Now you're scorned and you're mad and you're going to burn the whole thing down. Well, ladies and gentlemen, if you liked that, be sure to click that like and subscribe for more political translations from the beautiful land of Canada. See you next time.